So I assure you that the projector is in fact not broken, and that is intended on the screen. Now I know the text is small, so don't try and read it. That's not my point. So first off, you all have computers. You have your cell phones in your pocket right now, or filming me if you're my mother. And you've got computers at home, and you've got laptops and all that stuff. And I'm sure you all know how to use them pretty well, right? You use it every day. You're sending emails for work, and you browse the internet, and you watch videos on YouTube, and pretty much probably Netflix, right? And you know how to use that, right? You know how to use that website. But do you really know how it's built, right? And for something that you use that often, it seems weird to me that you don't know how it works, right? I didn't know how it worked. And you know, you all have cars, right, that you drove here with. Maybe you didn't own your car that you drove here with, but you use it all the time. And I'm sure you know how to change a tire. I'm sure you know how to change your oil. So why don't you know how to do that to your phone? Or do it to a computer, right? So what I did over my month of SLE is I worked with a web development company called Arista. You probably never heard of them. That's fine. And so I was working with my experts at Arista, and about beginning of the third week, right, so I was feeling pretty confident. I was like, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing here. One of my experts comes and he's like, this is a feature that we want to add to our website, right? A brand new thing, you know? Think when a website you know gets an update, that kind of thing. And he said, all right, just make it, right? And so I was like, wow, okay, that's some responsibility right there. A lot of people are going to use this. But, you know, I took it on, and I thought I was like hot, right? I was like on top. I thought I knew what I was doing. I was 3 weeks in. Oh, yeah, I was wrong. I had no idea what I was doing. So I get started, you know, and I'm like, all right, how do I make this, right? And so when you're building a program, you can kind of think of it like building a machine almost, right? You're trying to make something that has a function. And either it works or it doesn't, right? You know, if your car doesn't start, then it doesn't start, you know? And sure, it matters what's wrong. You know, that's what I was worrying about when my program didn't work again and again and again. But as a user, if something doesn't work, you usually don't know why. And this was cool for me being on the back end, right? Because I got to see what was wrong, or try and figure out what was wrong to be more accurate. And so Riva brought up a little bit ago, measure twice, cut once, right? It doesn't apply here. So when you're programming, right, you have an undo button. You know, you'd go through drafts and drafts and drafts. It's kind of like writing a paper, except not at all. And so what I have up here is 2 drafts. Well, there's actually a lot more drafts in between here. This is like 5 drafts of difference-ish between the 2 pieces of code. And the longer one on your left, that's my first draft, right? And this is the first draft that worked, mind you, right? So this is when I finally got it to do what I wanted it to do. And that alone took a lot of work. But the really cool thing about that work was all the resources I used were free and on the internet, which means you could have done it. You could have done exactly what I did. And sure, I had some experts there, and I asked some questions, but those were like specific to what I was doing. If you wanted to build a program, you could do it, right? It's all out there, which is really cool. And so even the experts, right, if they don't know how to do something, they Google it. which is, you know, kind of to be expected in the field. And so was the multiple drafts, right? All the experts I worked with, none of them said that they built something right the first time, right? Most of what their jobs were was building something that was already done again, right? So in between these 2 things, right, the cool thing about writing a program, and I compared it to building a machine earlier, but when you're building a program, it's like a puzzle, but there's no right way. Some ways are better than others, right? I would argue for sure that my later draft up here is better than the first. It's shorter, it's more concise, but they both work, right? And I could have done this, I don't know, 30 different ways easily from what's up there. So there's a lot of options, and it's open-ended, right? So you go into this puzzle, right? And there isn't a solution that's definitive. You get to make it up, which is where it is kind of like writing a paper. So that was what was so cool to me. Along with the fact that you don't need to have experts, right? My experts, the people I was working with, that gave me an opportunity to do things in the real world, to make changes that went live onto websites used by, over the next couple of years, I would say on the order of millions of people, which is so cool to me, right? This thing I did that someone just kind of threw at me and was like, yeah, just do it, right? Just do it, is something that's going to be used by so many people. And that's the power of the internet, right? When you do that, if you make something, people everywhere use it. There are people internationally that are going to be using code that I wrote. That second draft right there, that's live. That's on the internet right now. And the cool thing, well, I'm going to use that word a lot, is that all that code is stuff that I learned how to do basically by Googling it. So unlike so many things that you can't really do if you don't have like a professional schooling, right? And sure, there are degrees to get, but if you wanted to do something like I did, you can. If you want to go home after this, and you're like, I want to do that, I want to make a website, you can have a website up and running in 5 minutes, right? So do it. If you think like, that looks cool, I like puzzles, you like building things, you like making things work, you like the internet, go do it, because you can. It's all out there. It's all easy to find. Thank you.